as we relax into God's love, God's guidance, and God's wisdom, we remember that everything God does is ease and grace. God doesn't struggle. God relaxes. Wait a second, we're one with God. Therefore, we're not required to struggle. God is inviting us to relax. And so we take a few precious moments in the silence to feel our connection with the graceful, elegant flow, rhythm of God. We relax into it. We feel it. In the stillness of your own mind, hear the words, I am thankful for this moment. I am thankful for this moment. I am thankful for this moment. And ever so gently, I invite you to allow your attention to return to this time. Again, becoming aware of your body temple, perhaps wiggling your fingers and toes. Again, becoming aware of the breath. And we each allow our hearts to open a little bit wider as I take a moment to speak a word of blessing for today's gathering. Mother, Father, God, infinite intelligence, how thankful I am for this gathering, knowing indeed that God is all that there is, and all that there is God. Therefore, I know that I am one with this power and presence, for God is all that there is, and I exist. Therefore, I must be created in the image and likeness and out of the very substance of pure God. And as I know this to be my truth, I know the truth for everyone present here. We are all one with the one, created in the image and likeness and out of the very substance of God. There's no way that God could ever withhold any part of itself from itself. Therefore, we're each and all one with absolutely positively every person, place, and situation that exists. And so as we relax into the graceful, elegant flow of God's lavish, unfailing abundance, as we relax into the graceful, elegant flow of ease, We allow our hearts to be so wide open that we light up the world with the love that we radiate and reveal as our very life experience. We say, Spirit, let it be easy. Let it be easy for blessings that are unique and specific to show up for each of us and for all of us. I'm so thankful and grateful for Reverend Jesse Brune-Horan's yes, and for the message that he brings forth this day. For I already know that this service is blessed and is a blessing so profound that it sends ripples of peace throughout the entirety of the universe. This is a good session. This is a good celebration service, for we get to celebrate God as each of us and all of us, and the world is made a better place because we kept this divine appointment. Let the celebration continue. I release this prayer to the action of God's living, loving law with no resistance whatsoever. I let it be with grace and gratitude. And so it is. Amen. Once again, welcome everyone. So glad you're here. So glad you made the choice to show up. Again, we have a fantastic service. And so we'll just roll right into it with our mission statement. So I want to invite our very own Reverend Tom Hennessy to speak our mission statement. And everyone read along as Reverend Tom speaks.
Okay. Well, as the screen comes up, we're going to do it anyway. Inspire is a spiritual community of like-minded souls committed to walking our talk in joyous fellowship by demonstrating the power of love, compassion, and non-judgment every day in every way. Recognizing the divinity of all life, we stand united by actively liberating humanity, by healing judgment, fear, and shame within ourselves. Our intention to create world peace, piece by piece. Woohoo! And now it's my great pleasure to welcome our founder, Reverend Jesse Brune-Horan. Take it away, Reverend.
Thank you, Tom. We have to do a couple special shout outs today. Jonathan Rotenberg is here and from, I think, Boston still. Yeah, Jonathan? Boston? I don't know how long it's been since unless you've been coming to listen to Reverend Frida every month, which I will have real issue with, buddy, if you've been listening to her, not coming to say hi to me. But it's great to see you. He was one of our, really helped inspire a lot, like a decade ago, maybe?
10 years ago.
Wow. So welcome. It's good to see you, buddy. It's good to see you, friend. And also, my mother-in-law is here. It appears, Marlene and Chris from the East Coast, from New York. Hi, everyone. Hi. I feel like I have to watch my language now that Marlene is here. I usually I'm much more free with my potty mouth, but although I guess, I'm just going to let it flow.
Yeah. Great to see Chris.
If Annis is fine with it, then Marlene will be fine with it too. At least that's the story I'm telling, that Annis is cool with all of it. Welcome, everybody. Welcome. All of my teachings right now are all prosperity teachings, and I feel as though everything is a prosperity teaching, especially this idea of letting it fall away. So what are we letting fall away? We're letting the clutter fall away. We're letting everything that does not serve us fall away. I was reading this one section in this book called A Course in Prosperity by Jacob Glass. Jacob Glass is my mentor and I adore him. A Course in Prosperity by Jacob Glass. It's available on Amazon. And if you think I swear like a sailor when talking about spiritual principle, buckle up. It's like Jacob swear. If I swear like a sailor, Jacob swears like a drunken sailor. And it's great. But there's a section here that in this that I wanted to read to you. This book is great because they're just short little teachings on prosperity, but they're really profound, really beautiful. And I'm going to share one with you now because I think it's really great. And as I was reviewing this today, I was like, oh, well, that's exactly what we're talking about. Isn't it a coincidence that I was going to talk about this very thing? So this is day 13 in A Course in Prosperity, and it says, I am letting shit go. I am letting shit go. And there's a quote by Catherine Ponder, and the quote is, you've heard it said that nature abhors a vacuum. It is particularly true in the realm of prosperity. If you want greater prosperity in your life, start forming a vacuum to receive it. In other words, get rid of what you don't want to make room for what you do want. It is very important to realize that prosperity has nothing to do with stuff or in hoarding. People who have a poverty consciousness are scavengers. Anything that is free, they will accept, whether they can use it, need it, or even like it. This is particularly true of those who grew up with some sense of scarcity. It is the extreme opposite of prosperity. Storage units are almost always a sign of scarcity consciousness, the fear that one cannot create whatever they want or need fresh every moment. This is living on yesterday's manna. This is not only true in terms of physical stuff, but in terms of old ideas, beliefs, and even relationships that are no longer a vibrational match. Humans often think they are too old to make new friends, so they hold on to dysfunctional relationships, which actually only drag them down emotionally, physically, and spiritually. It's very good to be continually conscious of what is and isn't serving you by noticing how you feel when you think about something or someone, or when you are in their presence. There is no lack of people on your planet. Age is irrelevant. Consciousness is everything, everything, everything. When we say continually, do not get exhausted at the thought of this continual cleansing process. You brush your teeth every day. You probably wash dishes daily. You get rid of the dust and dirt by cleaning your home regularly. Do not let things build up or pile up. Clean things out on an ongoing, continual basis and keep only what serves you in having more joy, peace, and love in your life. Today's mantra, I deserve the best and I accept the best now. I let go of what no longer serves me to make room for what does. What a lovely little reminder, isn't it? And I love the analogy about hoarding and about storage units. But think about that in terms of stuff that people have told you about you, or stuff that people have told you about the way the world is or what life is, and stuff that you've just taken on and you've kept with you, even though you don't even believe it's true anymore. But there's a little piece of you that's going to hold on to it just in case they were right. The fear of being wrong, the fear of, I was just talking about this with a friend actually, about how oftentimes we downplay how good we feel because it's often more popular for people to feel bad. Or if you're not feeling bad, if you're not upset, if you're not anxious, then you're not really paying attention. And so we'll downplay our joy level because we don't want to seem irritating to the people who aren't a vibrational match to it. It's a very common practice for optimists, people that look on the bright side of things. My boss was called dysfunctionally, it was really good, dysfunctionally positive. She had a dysfunctionally positive attitude. And what's crazy is, I love my boss so much. She's one of the most prosperous people I've ever met in my life. In the world, as far as wealth goes, like she is extremely wealthy, but she creates things that she wants to create. She has experiences she wants to create. She's given this gift to her kids. Her kids are thriving in their chosen careers. There's no pressure on them, and she's just lovely and kind. She is a prosperous, wonderful person, and she's very positive. It serves her. And so people who aren't in alignment with that will try to find everything wrong with that person because they resent that. Oftentimes we resent the people that are doing or who have what we would like to do or have. So we find a way to cut them down. But here's the deal. If you would like to be prosperous, if you would like to experience wealth and abundance and all of those fabulous things, then stop talking shit about wealthy people and start finding what you enjoy about them. Because let me tell you something. I know wealthy people and they're wonderful. I know a lot of lovely, wonderful, amazing, considerate, joy-filled, wealthy people. And I'm like, yeah, sure. And so I know that I created this experience that I'm having now in my professional life where I am seeing every day an example of someone who lives in grace, who is thoughtful and considerate and continues to thrive, but doesn't give away what she knows is valuable. She is okay with making money, with putting a price on the goods that she created because she believes they're valuable, because she believes she's valuable. Another thing that I've noticed with her, and which is fabulous for this conversation, is you can give her a gift and she'll receive it and then she'll give it away to somebody else, especially if she doesn't want it. She never keeps anything she doesn't want. And I remember I gave her like an essential oil blend. And I saw that she looked at it and she like held it to her heart. She goes, "This is so nice." And the next day she goes, "I gave it to my son." I was like, "Oh," she goes, "Oh yeah, he's much more into that stuff than me." And it's like, she's like, "I don't want this. Like, I'm not going to use this. I'm not going to let it clutter up my life. Here, he'll like this. You enjoy this. This is for you." The other person that does that is Venerable Tahani Oahu, who is probably the most enlightened person I've ever met. But you will give this woman a gift, and by the end of like the event that you're at with her, someone is wearing the scarf you got her because she's like, "Oh no, thank you." But she's like, "Thank you." So receives it in love, and it's like, "Oh, you'll like this. Here, you do that. That's not for me." Like, prosperous people do not hold on to clutter. They keep it clear. They keep what they only enjoy in their space. But think about that on an emotional level. Joyful people do not allow their thoughts, their minds, their emotional bodies to be cluttered with belief systems, with judgments, with resentments that don't serve them. They release it, they let it go. They clear out their space to make room for what they're actually interested in. Prosperous people do not clutter their mind with anxiety and fear and worries. They're not out there trying to gather evidence that the stock market's going to crash, that we're in a recession. They're not finding all of the reasons why they can't thrive and prosper right now because they're interested in thriving and prospering. They are thriving and prospering. We create the world in which we live. And it's really important that as spiritual people, we become very aware of this, so that we get very clear of this, that there is nothing outside of us giving us anything. It is time to release this idea of being in a receptive mode, because nobody is bringing us anything. It is about being in a creative mode, because that is all we are ever doing. We are the vessel in which the universe expresses itself through. And so any belief that you have that you are unworthy, that this isn't true, that you're broken, that you're bad, that anything that would tell you that you are not anything other than a conduit of absolute good, of absolute joy, of absolute prosperity, has no place in your mind anymore. If you choose to hold on to it, you are consciously making a choice to suffer. So what are some of the beliefs that you know aren't true anymore, but you continue to hold on to because you might not know who you are without it? Or you might feel as though that you are, so often I think we get beliefs or stories from our parents or from our family of origin, and we feel as though we would disrespect them if we release those thoughts and beliefs that they gave us, or that we would somehow lose them or lose our connection with them if we no longer believed that. For so long, my family, I come from a very religious family, and a lot of the ideas and practices and things that they believed about themselves or about the world, I just don't believe in. I just don't do it. But I kept like a space for it because I thought, well, I'm not respecting them or I'm not honoring them if I don't keep this here. But I finally got to a place where I thought enough is enough. I can't pretend like this is okay anymore. It's taking up too much real estate in my mind. And I want to be free of that. I'm going to create a new experience for myself. And it took a lot of soul searching to understand that I am responsible for me. I am the only one who is responsible for my peace of mind. Nobody else is out there. I have to release the people in my life that I expect to act a certain way so that I can be happy. I have to release the hostages. I have to just set them free so that I can just focus on me. And what's great when you realize that this is what we get to do, that this is the task at hand, is you develop a new relationship with responsibility. You are responsible for this. What are you doing to support your peace of mind today? Take very seriously what you allow in your click stream. I did this experiment, and I think I've taught it to you. Like, I kind of got off social media and I got rid of all the news apps on my phone. There's been stuff that has happened that people told me about. Like, I had no idea that was happening in the world. Like, yeah, like, why haven't you been paying attention to the news? I'm like, no, absolutely not. It's been wonderful. But what I've been realizing is that I've been like so much more grounded in my mind and my heart lately. And instead of going through Instagram or Facebook or New York Times, I've been listening to my spiritual teachings. I've been actually meditating every day now for weeks. And my experience of the world is shifting. Things aren't like sticking on me. I'm not upset anymore. I feel much more free. And I'm noticing all of these beautiful displays of prosperity expressing, blooming itself in my life that I'm allowing to bloom now because I'm giving it the space to do it. I'm feeding it the good nutrients that it needs to bloom and grow. Last night, okay, so Chris is here because he's on the East Coast with his mom. He's helping mom move out of her house that she's been in for 60 years. And so these ideas of like letting stuff go, that's a real thing happening over there. But so Chris is away, and the kids are at my mom's house. So it's the first night I think I've had alone in 4 years, maybe 4 years plus. And I didn't leave my room. I mean, I was in bed all day. It was lovely. It couldn't have been lovelier. I was just in bed. It was me in my underwear in my bed all day. But one thing that I did do was I watched a scary movie, and I got about halfway through it to where I started like thinking like the dog was kind of barking at something. I was like, is someone in the house? What's happening? And I like had to go through all the rooms and just like double check. And then I was like, oh, that was stressful. And then I went right back to the scary movie. And then I paused. I was like, you know what? I'm going to put on some comedy. I was like, I think that might help me sleep a little more. And I realized I think I'm done with like the true crime dramas and the horror movies, which I've always loved. But the experience I have lately is that they stress me out. Like, and why would I do that to myself purposely? Why would I put that in my click stream? And look, what it manifested instantly. Suddenly I was in the horror movies. Suddenly someone was trying to get in. Suddenly I was the babysitter alone in the house, and, I was like, I even had the thought, I was like, oh, you know what? This is perfect, because Chris and I watched this true crime thing about this guy that was killing off his wives to get the insurance money. I was like, oh, Chris is smart because he knows this is the only time I'm alone ever. And so now he's going to get that life insurance money. I was like, who'd he hire to come into this house? And I'm like going through the house, and I was just like, okay, you know what? I'm just going to watch some stand-up because I really love stand-up comedy. It makes me feel good, and it helped me calm down, and I fell asleep. And so that's like one kind of playful example of what are you letting in your awareness? What are you consciously putting in your awareness? I was talking to a mom the other day talking about how social media is negatively affecting the mental health of teenagers. Like, it's a thing. And I realized, well, why do I think it's only affecting the mental health of teenagers? Do you know how many adults I have who do not have like the emotion, the mental and emotional discipline not to compare themselves to other people, not to feel really upset and depressed after seeing someone, like pretending to thrive, or someone really that has the body they want, or whatever. We know that comparison is the thief of joy. We know that when we do that, we suffer, but we do it all the time, every time we click on. So why do we choose to do this to ourselves? And this is what I really came to think about. Like, what am I allowing in my awareness? What am I choosing to let in? What if I got a little more disciplined in what music I listened to, what movies I was watching? What if I really prioritize how I felt, how I feel? And the theme of today is let it go, let it fall away. And what are we letting fall away? We're letting all of the outmoded ideas, beliefs, and habits that do not support us in feeling good fall away. And the great news is that we do not have to go looking for all of these things, all of these outmoded ideas, all of these outmoded beliefs, if we allow ourselves to stay focused on what it is we are interested in, who it is we know we truly are, what we'd like to experience, what we'd like to create. All the old stuff will naturally fall away. Anything that is preventing you from experiencing the life you're interested in experiencing, the life that you are entitled to, the life that you can't help but create, unless if you are doing this work, it will fall away without you even having to look for it. We are addicted to finding all of the trauma, all of the beliefs, all of the ideas, all of the resentments that kept us feeling bad about ourselves. We love going to spend time with it, cuddling up with it, really feeling bad about it. And we say, no, I'm processing. I have to honor my process. I have to honor this process. If I don't process this, then I'm just in denial. It's not going to really help myself. I can't really heal. That's absolutely the opposite of spiritual principle. Okay? Love is the great healer. Love is the great healer. And I promise you, if you focus on love, if you focus on joy, if you keep your vision squarely focused on the vision, if you keep your attention focused on the vision that you're interested in creating, naturally will all the other stuff begin to dissolve through it. You can heal things that are in your mind that you don't even know are in your mind. You can let them go and heal them without even knowing they were ever there. You do not have to go on that journey through the past to pick out every single thing that your parents said to you. When Tony, my oldest, was little, I'm doing this with Victor now too, before he'd go to bed every night, I'd ask him if he wanted to hear all the reasons why I think he's cool. And, I'd go through the list of like, you're smart, you're funny, you run really fast, you're a really good creator, you're a good dancer, you're a good singer, you're all of these things. And then my favorite thing is that you're kind. You're so kind and you're so loving. It's my favorite thing. And now we've graduated. And now instead of me telling him why I think he's cool, as he's going to sleep, I go, hey, why don't you tell me some of the reasons why you're so cool, why people love you? And then he goes, well, I'm really smart and I'm funny. And, I'm kind and I'm loving. And I was like, yeah, so there is some, I don't know when it happened, but like for some reason we think there's something wrong with making these declarations about ourselves. But sorry about that. Hold on one second. Okay. I had some phone call come in and you all went away. But that is true humility, is understanding who and what you are. You are made of the same stuff of God, of the divine. Who are you not to sing your praises? Once you know who you are, then nothing is stopping you. Once you know who you are, then you are no longer open for business to take other people's opinions about you that are not in alignment with the truth of who you are. And some people might call you delusional. Who gives a shit if you're happy? How you feel is the most important thing in your life. How you feel is the most important thing in your life. I was really thinking about life after death. I was watching this thing yesterday and they had this whole conversation about it. And this lady was talking about it, and she'd recently lost a child. She had a miscarriage, and she was talking about what she believes is happening with her kid. on the other side. And she had this beautiful like image of what was happening, and it made her feel really good. And of course, the person she's talking to goes, well, for your sake, I hope you're right. And it's just like, ugh. But like, it made her feel really good. So who cares if that's true or not? For me, I was thinking, there's this, I shared this at the group level before. I was going to a couple Zen classes. I was sort of interested in Zen, and I had to coming to God with that I was like, oh, it's too boring for me. Like, I get it, but I was like, oh, I can't do this right now. Maybe later, but right now I can't. I was listening to a lot of Leonard Cohen at the time, and Leonard Cohen went really Zen in his later years. I was like, well, if Leonard's doing it, I want to do that. But I'm like, maybe when I'm 60. But one thing that I heard that really changed my life was there was this Zen monk that was asked, what happens when you die? And he goes, why are you asking me? He goes, I haven't died. He goes, I don't know what to tell you. I haven't died. And I was like, oh my God, that is so true. So many of the ideas and beliefs and the stories that we tell ourselves about what happens after we die are stories we've created to comfort ourselves. Now that's fine and good, as long as it's not the excuse you use to suffer now. I'll suffer now because the kingdom of heaven awaits me on the other side. That is absolutely not an invitation to suffer now. So I really was thinking about this yesterday, and on my walk today, I took the dog for a walk today, and I thought, what if we played the game of this is your only life? Because a lot of spiritual people, they do the same thing that like religious folks will do about the kingdom of heaven, except they just use reincarnation. I'm like, oh, well, I'll just be reincarnated. It's eternal. I'll keep learning. So they do that as an excuse to suffer now. It's the same thing, just different words, it's the same idea, just with yoga, So what if we played the game of this is your life, and you have a short amount of time here on the planet? What are you going to do with it? If you really believed, if you truly believed, and I remember Reverend Jennifer asked me this one time. She goes, what would you do if it was like your last day on earth? And this was years ago. This was over a decade ago. I said, this was before I knew Chris, before I was a married man. I was like, I would have love affairs. I would jump out of a plane. I would do all of these things. And she goes, is that really what you would do if it was your last day? She goes, you wouldn't like try to spend it with the people you loved? And I was like, oh yeah, I guess you're right. And then I thought, oh God, I'd absolutely want to go see my sister, or I'd absolutely want to go, like see my mom and spend time with them and just be with them and just love them if I knew that it was my last day. That's exactly what I'd want to do. And so I really started thinking of that in a broader perspective of like, well, what would I do differently if I knew that really thinking like, this is my only life. Like, would I be more courageous with all the experiences I've had in my life? You know what I've learned? Everything always works out. So why would we stay in a situation that doesn't feel fulfilling out of fear of what? That it's not going to work out? Of course it's going to work out. What are you not allowing yourself to do now? And what stories are we telling ourselves now out of fear, out of a sense of, or from a place of an identity crisis? Because if you think that you are anything other than capable, magic, a creative presence, a creative experience, then you are seeing yourself absolutely through the lens of fantasy, because what you are is nothing but possibility. You are pure potential. That is what you are. You can create whatever you'd like to create for yourself once you believe it is so, and once you give yourself permission to do so. Age is irrelevant. I'm reading this fabulous book. This is how great my boss is. So she gave the entire staff this book called The Gift, and it's written by Edith Eger, who is a Holocaust survivor. And she talked about, in essence, how true freedom is just in your mind. And she went on to become a psychologist and work with people that have gone through a major trauma. But she didn't go to college until she was in her 40s. And she didn't start her career until she was in her 50s and 60s. And when she really started thriving in her career. And I thought, God, what a great reminder. Like, I always there are things that I'd like to do that I'm like, well, it's too late. Can't do that now. Oh, can't, oh, I'm too old for this. Oh, I'm too old for that. Oh, I don't have the resources for that. And all I think about now when I say that is, you're absolutely right. You're absolutely right. If that's what you believe, it is so. What's that old adage? Whether you believe you can or you can't, you're absolutely right. So what stories are you telling yourself? And where on earth, this is the biggest pile of SHIT that you can let go. Where are you fighting for your limitations? Where are you fighting for your limitations? Where are you saying, well, the reality is I'm too old for this. The reality is you have to know people in order to thrive in this industry. The reality is I don't have the contacts for this. The reality is I don't have the money for that. The reality is I'm too this for that. Where are you fighting for your limitations? And are you willing to stop? What if you absolutely let go of the habit of defending your limitations, your perceived limitations? What would your life look like if truly there was only potential and possibility and opportunity ahead of you? What would it look like? Because the truth is, that's what's there. What are you allowing in your clickstream? Now, here's the game I'm playing with myself, okay? So there was this fabulous story someone just told me about a couple who had a house and they had this big lot next to them. And they they really wanted to build an apartment complex on that lot. But, you know, they don't have money. They didn't have the money to do it. They didn't have the resources, the time. Nothing was in their favor. But then they started working. I think it was with Catherine Ponder. It was one of those like big spiritual teachers. They started going to their church and listening to it. So they decided to play a game. And the game was they would imagine this building into being. But the only rule was that they were not allowed to take any action. They were only allowed to imagine it and let it manifest. And this is an older couple, but they started playing this game. And it was only the matter of like a couple months where there was a knock on their door, and it was an architect. And he's like, you know, this lot next to you, do you own this lot next to you? They're like, yeah, we do. They're like, he's like, you know, you could build an apartment complex on that lot. And they're like, yeah, you know, that's what we'd really love to do. And he's like, oh, well, you know, I'm an architect. This is what I do. Like, here's my card. Give me a call. I'll do this. Let's do this. Let's make this happen. And they're like, thank you. But their rule was they can take no action. They're only allowed to use their imagination. They're only allowed to use spiritual principles, spiritual law. And your imagination is a powerful, powerful aspect of creativity. And so they did nothing. They didn't call him back. They didn't do anything. They only continued to imagine a full, beautiful built apartment complex, every unit full, everybody happy. They started imagining taking their friends through tours of it. And a couple of weeks later, the guy called them back and he's like, hey, listen, you know, I was thinking, I have these plans for a building that I had made a couple of years ago, but it would be perfect for that lot. Like, you wouldn't have to do anything. You wouldn't have to pay for the design costs or anything. I'll give this to you if you hire me to build this thing. They're like, oh, thank you so much. That's really wonderful. What a generous thing. And then they did nothing. They didn't call him back. They didn't do anything. That was their only rule, is they were only going to use imagination. But what they started to do was they started to get images of like apartment complexes they liked. They literally started playing this game. Chris and I did this for our wedding, where they would talk about having conversations about, after showing their friends the place, like oh, they loved it so much. They acting as if. A couple of weeks later, the guy calls back. He's like, listen. He's like, I went to a contractor and a construction guy. I have everything good to go, everything in place to put this building up. I think we can do this in less than a year, get this up and going. And I know for certain that we're going to be able to get all of the units filled. They're like, that's awesome. Thank you so much. And then they did nothing. They did nothing. They except using their imagination, enjoying the experience, like really aligning with the feeling of how it's going to feel when this thing is built. So then he calls back and goes, listen, I should have asked your permission, but what I decided to do was I decided to apply for a grant, and I got funding to start building this. We can start construction next week. And they're like, fabulous, great. He's like, any cost left over, I'm going to cover out of my own money. He's like, and then you guys can pay me back in the first year of rent, and it should cover all expenses that you needed. They're like, fabulous. So this guy just went and he brought over, the only action they had to do was sign their name. And he got everything in order. He built the building. And the only thing that didn't completely align with their fantasy and the imagination that they played with was one of the units didn't rent out immediately. And so they went back to it and they decided to start imagining the perfect tenant and how much they loved it. And within a week, that unit was filled. And their friends, all the friends that they had imagined walking through the building, they all did it. All happened, and they did nothing but keep clear on the vision that they were interested in creating, got clear on how it feels to have it all done, had made it really playful, made a game out of it. And it was so they created it without having to take any action. We think we have to do. In New Thought communities, there's a saying that says, treat and move your feet. Treat and move your feet. Yeah, exactly. There is no action required on our end, only inspired movement forward. What feels fun? If it doesn't feel fun and inspiring, why do it? Why? This kind of life, this sort of way of moving through life, most people would say that's irresponsible. You're living in a fantasy world. It's ridiculous. It's not possible. Prove them wrong. Prove yourself right with this. I promise you, and here's the good thing is, I have done this work for you. I have done so much of this stuff. I've fallen on my face. I'm a doer. Okay. I am a doer. As soon as I get a good idea, I try to go and I try to do stuff. So that's why a big part of my practice right now is doing nothing but having fun. I am really, really, really committed to buying a home, being a homeowner. So the first thing that I decided to do was to have someone come clean my house. So I talked to Chris and I said, listen, one thing that I'm really going to do for me, and this is for me, is I'm going to have someone come clean this house twice a month. It's like, because you don't have time to do it. I don't have time to do it. We got kids. There's 4 male species, human beings living in this house. It needs to be cleaned professionally. And so that's one of the things that I'm doing. Having someone come clean this house. It's a different apartment. I'm starting to get little pieces, one thing at a time, just little pieces of furniture that make me enjoy this house a little more. Just to like really get in the vibe of loving my house. And then what I did is I have this folder, and every day I find a new image that inspires me, just me. I'm not even asking Chris what inspires him. He can get his own house book, and it's just because it's all about the vibe. It's all about the energy. I'm just really focused on images that I love. And so I'm just getting housing images. I'm getting living room images. I'm getting bathroom images. I'm getting kids room images. I'm getting patio images, little things that just I love that really turn me on, that I think are great. And I look at that every day. So it's in my click stream. Beautiful homes in my click stream. I like to get on Zillow. I like to look at beautiful homes. I don't care about how much anything costs. That is none of my business. The cost is none of my business. How it's going to happen is none of my business. I am just simply focused on how much I love it, how fun it is, enjoying my home now, and being in that presence, the presence of the joy for this house. And I know it's already done. All I'm doing now is this weekend, I started just kind of getting rid of some stuff that I didn't need to bring into my new home. I'm like, oh, we don't need that in the new house. We don't need that in the new house. So I'm just like letting stuff out. So I'm just getting ready to move because it's happening. I don't know when exactly. That's not in my business either. It'll happen in the perfect time, in the perfect moment. That's when it will happen. And my job is just to be ready to move and enjoy it. So what is your version of that? It can be for anything. It can be for anything. It can be for a loving romantic partnership. Just think about how good it feels, what you're interested in. Be the person that you enjoy spending time with yourself so someone else can enjoy spending time with you. Clear a little space out in your closet for it so you can put the clothes of your partner in there with you, because I'm sure they want to spend the night too. Get an extra nightstand. What can you do just to be in the space of expectancy for what it is you're interested in doing? Ready for a new job? Well, then start being the person that people want to hire. Spend time doing what you love so that people can do it. Get clear on what is the job. Set goals. Set clear goals. Know what it is that you'd like to enjoy. And then go about, your job is just to enjoy it. Use your imagination. Daydreaming is one of the best things you can ever do. Everything that you were told about being a responsible adult, throw that out. Completely throw that out, because it's bullshit. And start using your imagination. Play, be playful, have fun. You know why kids are so free? because they don't know not to be. They don't know not to be. And what I've seen with my kids is whatever they want, they get. All they have to say is say it out loud, and it's put in front of them. It's pretty amazing. And I have to fight the tendency to be like, no, well, that's not how it should be for them. I'm like, you know what? That is exactly how it should be for them. That's how I'd like them to believe. That's the world I'd like them to create for themselves. All of these kids, I spend a lot of time with like wealthy children. That's how their reality is. And so many people are like, well, that's not how the world works. I'm like, yeah, it actually is. It actually is. If you train your children to believe that they can create anything, guess what? They're going to go about creating anything. If you train your kids to identify the good qualities in themselves, guess what they will be good at doing? Identifying the good qualities in themselves. And so that's what we need to do for ourselves. What is it that you love about yourself? Why are you the person for the job? Why are you the perfect partner? Why? Can you even bring yourself to listing these qualities about yourself? Or is it like a really painful process? Or do you feel like, oh, I don't want to sound egotistical or arrogant or any of that? The meek are not going to inherit shit. Okay? Like, you have to know who you are, stand in that power, be okay with that. All of the religious conditioning that we were taught about suffering and service and it's better to give than to receive, all of that stuff, throw it out in the garbage. That's all stuff that we get to like let out. Today's cleaning day, today's garbage day, put it out on the curb. That is for someone else to believe. You do not have to be of service. You can be helpful because you are great. You have gifts and talents to share. But when we say we're going to be of service, throw that out of your vocabulary too, because it already begins to create these levels. And you play into this belief that I'm helping someone less than myself, or I need help because I'm less than. We can help each other out because we have plenty to share. So be helpful, be truly helpful. This is how we get to stand in our own prosperity. This is how we get to stand in our own abundance consciousness. This is how we get to stand in our truth. This is who we are. And the more we stand in that, the more we allow in, the more the stuff that no longer serves us falls away. I'm going to leave you with this last analogy, and then we'll open up for some conversations and discussion. When I was a trainer and I would work with people who were obese, like that had hundreds of pounds to drop, and had serious health conditions, we had to start by, addressing, the inner conditions and adjusting some habits that people needed to change. But I found pretty quickly that if they had to look at all the stuff they can't do anymore, then they would fail. They would always fail. Like, if I can't have sweets, if I can't have this, if I can't have that, they would always fail. But what I did do is, now this week, just this week, your only job this week is you're going to bring in something green into one meal a day. Just something green, one meal a day. You can do everything else that you've been doing the same. Just bring in something green in one meal a day. And then the next week, we're going to keep that thing, like have the green thing with your meal. And now you're going to bring in one smoothie a day too. One smoothie and one green thing. And then we add something else healthier the next week and something else healthier the next week. And then pretty soon what it was they had a completely healthy diet. They had a completely healthy routine. They were exercising, they were eating well, they were feeling good. And once they started to feel good, they wanted more of that. But we did it by just not focusing on what they couldn't have. We focused on what they were interested in, what they could bring in. And without having to really make a big change, the other stuff just fell away because they started feeling good. So what is one thing you can do today to make yourself feel good? What is something that you could do today that is 100% you would think was completely selfish? Do that today without any judgment, without any whatever. You live a selfish life. If you live a radically selfish life, meaning you do what you like to do, you do what you want to do, you experience things that feel good to you and not worry about what anyone else thinks. If you do that, you will start living in such power and such joy that you will. And here's the great thing about abundance and joy is you have to give it away. By nature, you share it. Never once has anyone felt so good about themselves that they had the thought, whose day could I ruin? I feel so good. Who can I go trample on today? Not once. It's always about sharing the wealth, sharing the gift, sharing the joy. So start with yourself. Start here. Prioritize your peace of mind. You are the only person who is in charge of your peace of mind. So get to it. Because once this is in alignment, then the world is your oyster. You can create whatever life you'd like to live. And all the other stuff will fall away. Clean house. You don't have, if you have to look at some of the limiting beliefs, the only good that comes from looking at your limiting beliefs is so you can turn it around. So you can take it and you can make it into an affirmation. If you really believe you have to work hard, like working hard is the makings of a good person. So you're like, okay, I have this belief that I have to work hard. Turn it around and say, I get to work happy. I get to work happy. And what's an affirmation I can do? I work less. For every dollar I spend, $3 are given. $3 come back to me. Like, what are affirmations that you can start to develop so that you can be in joy, you can be in love wherever you are? Let's go within. Let's just take a moment and invite you to join me by placing a hand on your heart and just tap your heart center and just say, I'm letting love in. I am lovable. I am lovable. I am worthy. I am worthy AF. I am so worthy. I am sexy. I am happy. I am joy-filled. I am smart. I am free. Say this with me. I'm going to say one, you repeat after me. Ready? Here we go. Tapping on your heart space. Say, I am lovable. I am free. I am worthy. I am sexy. I am good. I am joy filled. I am worthy. I am blessed and I am a blessing. I am. Knowing that where we are, love is, where we are, potential resides. We just know this for ourselves and we act like it. We go forward, willing to create a life that we're interested in, willing to engage in relationships that feed us, that fill us up, that inspire us. Where we are, love is, and that is all there is. No longer interested in our limiting beliefs, no longer willing to fight for our limitations. We let it go and we open up to create, not to receive, to create a life that turns us on because we are worthy. We are worthy. And so it is. Amen.